Hi, friends. Welcome to Law Chat with Girja. My name is Girja Bhargav Patel. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I am a podcaster. I am an educator. I am a businesswoman. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm a lawyer. I truly believe in the power of mentorship through storytelling, and that's what Law Chat is all about. So whether you are in 6 months or 10 years of business experience, we can all learn from each other's experiences because we face the same challenges and we have the victories and we have mistakes that we're all making. So why not lean into them and know that we're going to be fine and we're going to be okay and we're going to be inspired. And of course, this is Law Chat with Girja, so we will be talking about some law at some point during the conversation. And if you love what you hear today, which I know you will, then subscribe to Law Chat with Girja and share the love. So grab your coffee, sparkling water, or wine, and let's dive in to the next inspiring mentorship session. Hi, friends. Welcome to Law Chat. How many of you started a website and then expected tons of people to walk through and make tons of money? I know I did. I know a lot of other people think that happens. And that's not the truth at all. As my wife's daughter said, at the age of 8 at the time, she said, "Mommy, you can't start a website and expect people to come without anybody knowing what you're doing." I'm like, that is wise right there. And today we have Megan Martin with us today also to share such wise tips and the guru of all things digital and digital products and passive income. She is the founder of the Digital Lab All Access. I'm a member of that group. I also had the opportunity to share legal advice and legal tips with that group as well. And she is teaching thousands of digital business owners how to take their digital products and really make use of them in a way where they're making money and not just hanging out there waiting for someone to come through. She also has a podcast with Cash Moyer talking small business. It is fantastic. I love their chit chats that are happening, full of advice, full of wisdom, but then also just really real talk that a lot of people feel and think as small business owners as well. And now I was just talking to her before we started. She has just kind of revamped her business message with her husband, Jeremy. And now their whole concept is actually helping entrepreneurs become passive income entrepreneurs. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, Megan, today, because you are literally a gem. I remember meeting you first, just when we were talking in your community, but then later on in person at the Creative at Heart conference, it was just so nice to have your energy is amazing. And I just love your this is how I am. This is what I do. And I'm amazing. But oh my gosh. No, honestly, I love it because you're very I'm not the type A person. And I just love that because a lot of people, not that they're not type A, but sometimes that's just a thing that people say a lot of times. I know I say it, but I truly am. So it's just but it's so nice to have those real conversations and, a different perspective that you bring to the table. So welcome, Megan, to Law Chat.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That was a very sweet introduction. I really enjoyed meeting you in person too, and just connecting with you online, and really love the way that you've been showing up to serve people and help people from a legal perspective. So yeah, we recently rebranded and it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders when we finally made it happen and put it out into the world. And I'm just glad we've really found our direction now. And so now I can move forward confidently doing all the things that I have to do in my business with that kind of done and pushed out and published into the world. So I've been really happy since we've rebranded.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting you say that because, okay, number one, I really enjoy seeing you guys together. It's really fun. And it's fun because you're both teaching different things. He's talking about real estate. You're talking about digital products and websites and how to maximize that. But with that being said, though, I like how, you're it's a weight lifted off of me. And I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we start something and we expect it to keep going that way. It's hard for us to shift because that shift might signify in our brain as failure. That shift might signify, man, I spent so much time on this, so much money, so much effort. How can I just shift like this to the left side when I've poured so much of myself into this right here? And so I'm kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but we'll rewind and talk about how this whole journey started for you anyways. But I want to kind of talk a little bit about this is that shift that you took. It was definitely, it's a rebranding. It's also a different message, kind of a different message, but it's packaged differently.
Yeah.
And so how did that shift happen? And then, at what point were you like, man, this needs to happen because I'm feeling a lot of weight that I don't need to feel?
Yeah. So I teach people how to create and sell digital products. And I am not like, the word guru slightly makes me cringe. I would not claim myself as a guru.
But you are. Own it.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. It always makes me chuckle a little bit when I see people who are teaching digital products and creating passive income, and they're teaching from them starting a business. Like, it's like they're teaching digital products as they're starting to sell digital products. So they truly don't actually have experience in creating and selling digital products and creating passive income. And that was not my story. Like, this role of educator in this niche sort of fell in my lap. I have been selling digital products since 2016 and never had the inclination that I should be teaching people this. It was very, very random, I would say. I've sold PDF templates in the past. I've sold Canva templates in the past. I sell website templates. I've sold different courses about websites and different resources about, marketing in general, but it was never centered around creating and selling digital products. But in 2020, when the world literally fell apart, I started in the wedding industry. And so many of my followers are in the wedding industry. And, if you are a wedding industry friend here listening, that almost overnight business just dried up. And I think a lot of people were really, I know a lot of people were really terrified of, what am I going to do right now? How am I going to provide for my family, especially if your creative business is footing the bill for your family, And so I just started getting DMs from people, and they were asking very pointed questions about what webinar platforms should I use? How do I even do a class online? People were just desperate for answers and needed something to be able to pivot. And I had experience for 3 to 4 years selling digital products. I built a 6-figure business selling digital products. And so I thought, why not just share what I know? I would not consider myself an expert in the world of passive income. I'm not making millions of dollars. There's lots of strategies out there that I don't do and use. For example, I don't really advertise regularly in my business, but I have built a sustainable business that covers our family's income. And so I started this membership, and it blew up overnight. It totally took us by surprise. I had no idea what to expect. But we had over, 250 people within the first 4 days that joined the membership. And we were looking, my husband and I were looking at each other oh man, we weren't ready for this. But it was clear that there was such a need for people to step into creating some more passive income streams, not just because of the pandemic. We've moved sort of out of that desperation of needing passive income, to sustain us in the present moment. If your services were affected, now we're kind of getting into the point where it's people are seeing, okay, the pandemic, nobody would have ever imagined that was a reality, And so something like the world literally shutting down, I think, opened people's eyes that we don't really know what's going to happen in life. Right. And so having some sort of income stream to fall back on is necessary. It takes a lot of pressure off to feel like you're in that hamster wheel of running a service-based business. But my business messaging at the time was all focused on my website template business. It was not focused at all on helping people create passive income. It just, it was my membership where I taught people was a side of what I do. And then my business was me selling my own digital products, if that makes sense. And so I think there was a disconnect from a messaging perspective that I'm growing this massive membership. It grew over 1,000 members within the first 4 months. And nowhere online was I talking about the fact that I actually can help walk you through how to do this, And so we found this disconnect of how do I fit this into a business that has nothing to do with this, essentially. Again, we never expected this product to take off. And so just over time, I gave it months. I gave it 6 months before I even thought that we should consider infusing this into our messaging. Because what if it didn't stick? Like, what if it didn't pan out?
Right.
I'm a huge believer, if you're rebranding, that you need to like be profitable, and you also need to make sure that this is something that you want to do long term before you like make a big change in terms of your business messaging. So about 6 to 8 months later, I'm like, okay, it's time. We need to do this. Like, we need to rebrand. And my husband, his niche is that we've essentially set ourselves up for retirement because he has invested in real estate over the last 10 years of our marriage. And so he's earning passive income in a totally different way than I am, but we are earning passive income, and literally we are set up for retirement. Like, we will make 6 figures a year once these homes are paid off, which is such a, like, as a small business owner, to have that sense of like security in your retirement is priceless. Right. And so we just thought to ourselves, like, okay, you're teaching one thing about passive income, I'm teaching another thing about passive income. What if we join forces? Because really, we are like, I appreciated you saying that, like, I just kind of tell it like it is, but I don't like it when business owners kind of like leave out the disclaimers that need to be put on the table about like, hey, I'm an expert, I can teach you how to do all of this, but you don't see the disclaimers of like what's supporting them in that mission, if that makes sense. Right. So like, the fact that I'm set up for retirement is part of why I can make my own schedule and do whatever I want. Like, I cannot work for a month, right? If I don't want to, I don't have that pressure. And so I felt like, yes, I can teach you how to earn passive income through digital products. And I do that in my life and business, but I also felt like it was necessary for you to hear the part of the story of, it's not just digital products that fund my life. It's also the fact that we earn passive income in other ways. And so it made a lot of sense for us to make the decision to join forces, which was a big deal because I owned my own business by myself for 9 years. And then we're like, okay, Jeremy, you're going to come in. So that was like a whole other like part of this rebrand is like, I'm now like, this is a legitimate partnership brand now, and it's not just my thing anymore. So that was like interesting as well. But that's pretty much how the rebrand decision came to be.
Wow, that's actually, there's so many layers to that right there.
Yeah.
Just, I truly appreciate you saying that you're not an expert. And I think what your level of expert standard might be different for somebody who's really just starting in the business and they don't even know where they're going with that. And I think like you were that mentor, you were that guide that they might be looking towards. And that's why a lot of people in 2020 probably came to you, because they saw you doing it for so many years. And that evolved into, you becoming a person who was actually coaching people on how to do it now.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is really important, that what you said about experts and who you're looking to, because of the accessibility, and because there's, not only accessibility to the internet and to people, but also just accessibility to doing things and creating your business online. A lot of times we don't look at the history behind somebody that's claiming to be a coach or claiming to be something, because honestly, you're right. Like, you don't know how long they've been doing something unless you actually research it. And, side note, guys, there's like a lot of regulations out there now, especially for coaches, and the FTC is like, you can't say certain things. You can't guarantee certain things also, because it's misleading. It's misleading to the consumer. And it's just, just have to be super, super careful with that. But, even when you're rebranding and now you're in a partnership with your husband, like, it dawned on me that now it's a whole different business, and the messaging is changing, but also how you collaborate with one another, how one person says one thing, and you need to make sure that both of you are aligned on the same page. I mean, your husband and wife, yes, but alignment still has to happen in a business situation as well. So those are all different aspects that you're looking at. But I like that, it was just something very natural, this rebranding that came to you. And real estate is a wonderful way of making passive income. And quite frankly, that's where traditionally people think passive income, they think real estate. And I like that you are actually showing other people, well, passive income can also be made with other stuff that you're creating and putting it on a website. Websites are wonderful ways to make passive income, but how to make that and mobilize that website is a whole different story.
Yeah.
So before we get into your tips and, some like advice from you, I want to know, like, how did you even get into this space? Is it something that you went to college for, or is this something that, again, was just so happenstance and you're like, yeah, this is wonderful. So I hate to interrupt this awesome conversation, but I have to stop and talk with you about the number one thing I'm asked about by entrepreneurs: contracts. They're vital to any business relationship and to protect your business. But I also know that entrepreneurs, especially when you're starting up, money is tight. But I would never want you to compromise on a strong legal foundation. So enter yourcontractbuddy.com, a website created by me with contract templates created and drafted by me and fellow industry partners. They're ready to use and easy to plug in immediately. And they are not restricted to any specific state. So yourcontractbuddy.com is sponsoring this episode, and you and your listener can get 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. Yes, you heard me right. 10% off right now with code LAWCHAT. And now back to our awesome conversation.
Yeah. So I mentioned that I started in the wedding industry, and I started my business in 2011. We had just gotten married, and I did not go to college. I don't have a degree. I had zero business savvy. I just really loved the wedding industry. I'm like total typical wedding planner story, planned my wedding and decided I wanted to do that. Like I literally was a medical assistant giving elderly people B12 shots. And then I was like, I'm going to own my own business. Like that was my life. I have like the weirdest backstory, but yeah. So I'm like working in this medical office. We had just been married a few months, and I'm like, you know what? I just want to start my own business. I don't want to do this anymore. And so that's kind of like where my business journey started. I literally woke up and was like, I'm doing it today. It's the day. What should I name this business? Like that was like how it went.
Today is the day.
It was.
And guys, that is something that is okay too. It is okay.
Yeah. So I started this wedding planning business, and it just makes me laugh, like slightly cringe when I look back. But like my website my images were for my own wedding. So I'm like the bride on my website. Oh man, I'm such a hot mess. But I didn't have any portfolio. So I literally used our own wedding, and that was like the images. And I started learning more. My mother-in-law was actually a wedding planner. And so she taught me and gave me a lot of her like business resources and just helped me get going. Mm-hmm. So I like designed my first website on Wix. No shame if you use Wix here, but it's definitely something I moved quickly on from. But I had zero business savvy, like literally had to pull my bootstrap up and figure out everything that has to do with owning your own business and marketing and selling. And of course, providing a good service and all of that. And I'm not going to lie, like I did not book any clients for like the first 6 to 8 months of opening my business, but I didn't know what I was doing, you know? Yeah. But I sort of have like an innate design eye just ever since I was a child. And so I knew from the beginning that like when I started this website and I put it up onto the internet, like it wasn't exactly what I imagined or envisioned for what my brand would be, but it was what it was. You know what I mean? Like when you're first starting out, you should not invest thousands of dollars into a brand. Like you need to establish your business. Like I said, be profitable before you do this, you know? So I'm like dreaming of this brand design. And I had gone to like my first conference and saw, you know, these big names that I'm now friends with, and like they're beautiful brands. And I like came home and I'm like, babe, I want to get a website designed, you know, like I want to like hire a professional. And so I get quotes, and, you know, at that time, like I'm getting quotes for like $1,600 for a custom website, which is like, I mean, I'm sure people still do it for $1,600, but that's really not industry standard at all. But I like at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. Like I was terrified, you know? And so my husband was like, absolutely not. You will not pay $1,600 for a custom website when you don't actually book any clients. Like, and so I literally picked up a book. I went to Barnes and Noble and picked up like website design for dummies and decided that I was going to learn how to do it by myself. And so I did. I have this, I'm a 7. And like, if you're an Enneagram 7, like we are prone to just trying new things. Like you talked about failure. And a lot of times when people are making changes, like a lot of people hold back because they feel like it might be a failure. I happen to be somebody who is not afraid of failure. Like changing to me is not, it doesn't bother me, you know? And so I taught myself website design. I put out a brand new brand. I also taught myself like Photoshop at the same time. So I could figure out how to design a brand, design a website, and put it out there. And I like really learned that I loved that kind of work. Like it's the same thing. Like I planned my wedding. I loved it. I tried it. I designed a website. I realized I loved it. And I like dove all in on like learning about design and conversion and psychology. Like I'm just like such an all or nothing person that I dived all the way in. And then people started asking me if I would design brands and websites for them. And I'm like, oh man, you really don't. I like literally told people that were asking to pay me money. I'm like, you probably shouldn't pay me money. Like I'm not an expert in this. I'm seeing a trend here happening.
Yeah.
But
the trend is you keep undermining your own ability.
Yes. Yes.
Don't do that, guys. Don't do that.
No. So yeah, like people are literally like, I'll pay you. And I'm like, okay, are you sure you want to do that? But I did. And I started booking clients and I immediately like became booked out within a few months to design people's websites. And
such a blessing in disguise where your husband's like, oh no, we're not doing that. And then
right.
You know what? Let me show you. Let me go learn it myself.
Yes.
And it was literally a blessing in disguise though, because now you got the abridged version of what people go to school for 4 to 5 years of their life. And you're like, I got this. My mind is working this way. I'm done. Like, this is amazing.
Yep.
And it was such a blessing in disguise for you.
It really was. I mean, it changed the trajectory of our life. Like, I mean, my husband was in corporate America at the time. Like, I mean, our website template business was the reason why he was able to step away from corporate America. And like, I mean, obviously like part of the real estate and being set up for retirement was a part of that too. But having, I remember us looking back in 2017, it had been about a year and a half since I launched our website templates, and we were looking at the numbers that we were projecting for 2018. And we both looked at each other and we're like, I think you can step away. Like, I think you can do this. And it was like this pinch me moment of like the first day in January of 2018, when we were like sitting down together in our office. Like I took a picture with our cell phone. I'm like, this is the cutest thing. Like, we're doing this, babe. And he hasn't had to work another day since then. So it's been really, really cool.
That is so incredible. That's so incredible. And then, so your website design and all that picked up from there. And then the template, how did that happen? Like, I feel like when you're listening to this, you're like, okay, I really want this to happen. And so I have digital products, on my website, Your Contract Buddy. But honestly, like, I'm not getting those digits in the way you are, only because probably I just don't know how to do it properly. And also my time is being consumed with my one-on-one clients more than my website. So for those of us who are, website owners trying to sell digital products, so how did you figure out what is the secret sauce, if there is a secret sauce out there?
Oh man, that's a hard question. The truth of the matter is there's so many different strategies that you can apply. And this is why I don't like to call myself an expert, because it really depends on what type of digital product you're selling, whether you're selling a course or a download or a template, or you're doing some sort of like live event that you want to turn into a recorded workshop. Like, there's so many different strategies. You could make a tiny digital offer and put money behind it to advertise, to scale that way. You can put out content marketing and try to get people to sign up for your email list and create sales funnels. Like, they're really like, once you like open your eyes to this world, you see that there are so many different ways to actually grow a digital business. And at first it feels very overwhelming. And I'm not going to lie, it does feel very overwhelming for somebody to figure out, well, what is the right way? And my students love to ask me this question, like, what should I do, Megan? What's the right thing for me to do? And I'm like, I hate to burst your bubble, but there is no right way. Like, you have to pick a way, you have to pick a strategy, pick a tactic to try first, see if it works. If not, try something different. Like, and it's the answer that nobody wants to hear, because they want to do the work once and it be done, which is what we're sold, right? In the passive income world, you only have to do this once and then you can make tons of money and then you can fly to Tahiti and like, hug a model, but that's like
models don't live in Tahiti, FYI. Those pamphlets are misleading.
You know what I'm saying though? But that's what we're sold, right? Everyone's like, oh, 4-hour work week. You only have to do this once and then you can make money and you can scale to the moon and you're going to be set for life. But so many people are realizing when they get into this, that's not actually the reality. It takes a lot of testing and tweaking and figuring out not only what strategies actually work, but also what strategies work for your personality. And some people are more likely to be able to hop on a podcast and talk about their life and their business and what they do. Some people are more prone to being able to show up on video. Some people are terrified of video. And you've got to figure out, you've got to kind of sort of work through all of the different ways that you can grow a business and figure out, how do I I function as a person? How am I going to be able to show up in my best self? Because that is the way that you're going to sell the best. If you're trying to like fight your personality and show up in a way that a guru told you to show up, I guarantee you're going to struggle to make sales because
so it all
I just
down to like marketing strategies. What are the best marketing strategies for the digital products that are on your website? So if you were to share like, you know, 2 or 3 marketing strategies out there that are common in general, like I feel like, you know, going on a podcast is great, but then you also have to look at the market, that the audience that is there and how much of the audience is actually listening and will convert. But what are some of the, I don't want to say tried and tested, but the more common marketing strategies that a lot of people who are digital product sellers use?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just kind of speak to my own experience. And then, you know, we are currently, I feel like in our creative industry, like we are so obsessed with trying to grow followings. We talk a lot about visibility. A lot of this applies to like Instagram, TikTok, and all of that. And I'm just going to be real with you that that is exhausting to me. Like it's very exhausting. I hate that. It's not that I hate that world. Like I love the people that I connect with on my social media profiles, but I'm not going to lie, like just posting constantly is exhausting. I did it for years and I just don't want to be a part of that world anymore. And so I honestly, like from the beginning of my business, I kind of innately decided that I would focus more on the long-term type of marketing. So blogging, Pinterest. I've now I'm starting to implement YouTube very seriously this year, but I have found great success with just limited marketing efforts, but putting those limited efforts into long-term type of content. Yes, I show up on Instagram regularly, but I will say in my own experience that long form marketing has really built my entire business. Like I don't have that pressure to show up 24/7 with trends and reels and all of this stuff because I'm consistently getting traffic from Google or from Pinterest or from YouTube. And I have just been strategic about that traffic to funnel them to my email list. And I know that email marketing is not sexy. It's not as easy as making a reel, even though reels are quite difficult for a lot of people.
Is absolutely not made in 5 minutes. So
they can be difficult, right? But even it's not like you could just post to Instagram, right? Like email marketing is more complicated, but I will tell you that I focused on growing my Instagram following before I started my email list. I started my email list in about 2016. I saw a significant shift in income and predictability in my business the day that I started my email list. Like we can look back and we can pinpoint like very clear peaks of income in our business and we can point it back to an email that I sent. That kind of like results-based marketing, I have not found it with Instagram. I've not found it on any of these like shorter term platforms. And so I think if you're here and you have digital products, if I can encourage you to do anything, it's to get serious about your email list because it really does. It works. It converts. People feel super awkward, I know, and they feel salesy on email and they like hate bothering people. But the more I send emails, the more money I make. Like it's just
not only that, email lists are yours. They're part of the value of your company. It's kind of considered as an asset also because they're future customers. They're customers that you might have had in the past or like, you know, could have. So email lists are yours. They cannot be taken away from you. What can be taken away from you is your Instagram account. Any platform, any social media account can be taken away from you. It doesn't matter whether Pinterest or whether you're on YouTube, all of that can be taken away from you. And so even on YouTube, like I have a YouTube channel, all of this will be on YouTube also. But then what I do is I make sure it's sitting and living on my website also. So people have access to it and it's mine. Then it's not something that one day YouTube decides to not be a company anymore and decides to shut down. I'm not dependent on them anymore. I love that you talked about long-term strategies and not short-term strategies, because honestly, and it also depends on the company you have, the kind of product you're selling or what services you're offering. I personally believe that I use my Instagram, my social media as education and places where people their ideas can be sparked, their mind can be sparked. but it's not a place where a lot of conversion happens for me. And I think my conversion happens more when I'm sitting in conferences or when I'm talking to people one-on-one and having those deep conversations, because the personability is there and the trust is gained also at that point. Mm-hmm. And email marketing is a great way to do that. If you don't want to sound salesy, then don't put something out there that you can gain trust in. And it's hard. I think for me personally, it's hard because I feel like sometimes the whole software behind it, the tech part of it, is what stops me from moving forward on the email marketing. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm not alone on that. And so, yeah, like Instagram and all the trends keep changing, and it's not yours.
Right. And it's not that kind of marketing strategy can't work. I know plenty of people that grow very successful businesses mm-hmm. by focusing their efforts on shorter term marketing strategies. But for me, I have 4 kids, and I talked earlier about being an Enneagram 7. Like, I am not a consistent person by nature. I have very high highs and very low lows, and I can't predict that kind of feeling within me. I can't predict when I'm going to have those like intense creative periods, and then like times when I literally don't want to do anything for weeks. Like, mm-hmm. I can't put that on a calendar. Right. Mm-hmm. And so for me to have that pressure that I have to show up daily and create content all the time, like, it doesn't work for me. And so, it's not that can't work for anybody. It's that I know for me, I am not going to be in a healthy mindset mm-hmm. day in and day out if that's what I choose to focus my efforts on. And so I've learned that about myself. And so I focus my efforts on long-term strategies. And, I started these longer-term strategies like 2014, 2015. And I'm still seeing results from those. Like, right. I still see traffic from a blog post I wrote in 2014, mm-hmm. and it's just really opened my eyes that yes, I can like add on short-term strategies. And I do. When I'm in the mood, I will. Right. But for me, it's really freeing to not have that be what I have to do to mm-hmm. survive in business, So I would just encourage you, like, if you're kind of like me and you really just like struggle with, the shorter term content, like, prioritize your efforts and the time that you do have on longer term type of content. And then when you have the inspiration, when you have the idea, when you're in the mood, do the short term stuff, mm-hmm. right? Like, I'll go sprints where I'm like a couple weeks, I'll post regularly, and then I'll take a couple months off. Like, it's just whatever, but my business still survives and it can be done, but you do have to have something on the back end that's bringing traffic to the door. And in my case, it's that like longer term type of content that's working for me.
Megan, what I love about you and what really impresses me is the fact that you embrace who you are. And the thing is that there are a lot of other people that might be like you or share similar personality, characteristics like you. And I might share certain things that that's part of your personality, but it's really hard sometimes to really embrace that, because sometimes you're like, no, I need to be like this, because mm-hmm. this is what I see as success in my eyes. This is what I see as reaching those metrics that I find to be successful. And I really appreciate that you're like, no, I'm just not like that. And I'm going to embrace the fact that I can have mood shifts, and maybe one week I'm just not feeling it and I'm just not going to move forward on it. And it's okay.
Right.
What I'm trying to get to is that there's a lot of us that are like that. And even if we're not the same type 7 Enneagram, type B, whatever, whatever it is, we all have seasons in our life, whether that season's a day, whether that season's months, but we have seasons, and it's okay to embrace that season rather than fight it, because when you're fighting it, you're causing friction, and the mental health is where the friction releases its stress into. And I think that it's so important for entrepreneurs to say, first, realize what your personality is like how you've done. You've realized what your personality is like. And now you're allowing yourself to live in a space that allows your personality to also cultivate, but allows you to grow in the way you want to grow. And I find that beautiful, because you embrace it and you encourage it and you tell others that it's okay. And generally, the narrative that we get in life in general is not that.
Right. And thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't always like this. I spent a lot of time, a lot of this like personality driven, work that I've done came from when I stepped into the digital product space. which often looks like stepping into some sort of educator role. It's very, a lot of digital products are educational in nature, right? When I stepped into this space, I really struggled for years with imposter syndrome. Like I just kept feeling like, I shouldn't be doing this. Who am I? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not an educator. I didn't go to college. Like I had to deal with a lot of interpersonal work to be able to do what I do today. And I realized while I was like sitting in and struggling with all of that imposter syndrome, what I was looking to were solutions for how to like overcome this. Right. And so I would like be searching for other people to share what they know and buying courses and, just trying to figure out like, how are these people so successful? Right. How are the people that have gone before me so successful? And I was trying to like figure out their formulas and apply it to my life and business. And the more I did that, the more I struggled with imposter syndrome, because I'm like, I was trying to heal something externally that like no formula or proven system or whatever was going to fix. Right. And so it was when I realized that like I was applying people's core personality strengths. I was trying to apply that to my life, and it just doesn't work. Like if you look, for example, this is a very like tangible example, like productivity specialists. I'm going to guess that a lot of them are very type A, maybe Enneagram 3 type of people who are very organized. They are routine based, they're achievement based, right? People, and nothing's wrong with any of that. But as somebody who's like me and is very different to my core and my personality, I was trying to apply what comes naturally to them to me, and it did not work. And so I was consistently butting up against like my weaknesses while also struggling with imposter syndrome. And that is just a recipe for disaster. Like it is not a way to build a business. And my very dear friend, Laura Foote, she is, if you're like struggling with, trying to uncover like who you are, your motivations, and figuring out how you function and what you're really talented at, Laura Foote is a fantastic person to go and connect with. But she opened my eyes to it's Strengths Finder, right? It's another personality type inventory, but she really opened my eyes to like, life can be different. Like I feel like we naturally as humans, especially in America, like Americans are like, fight, like overcome, the American dream, like, we're going to overcome obstacles. It doesn't matter. We're going to keep fighting, whatever. But like, I was finding that I was literally like constantly being presented with my weaknesses. And my work was like trying to overcome my weaknesses instead of like thriving in my strengths. And Laura like opened my eyes that like, yes, there is validity and it's good character building to know what your weaknesses are and take steps towards, getting better. Right. Yeah. But it is freeing on the other side when you like understand what your true strengths are and you step into those strengths and you allow that to lead your life and that to lead your decisions. And so when I like did this personal study work specifically with her as well, like as soon as I actually stepped into those strengths and I allowed myself to own those strengths and I allowed myself to say like, I'm not going to try to do business the way that everybody else tells me to do business. I'm going to try to figure out how to do business that works within my personality and my strengths. And I'm like, when I did that, and then I found my sweet spot of like what I really love to do, that's when imposter syndrome went away for me. Like, because the literal definition of imposter is trying to be someone else. Right. And so I was constantly like, as I was growing my business, trying to fill somebody else's version of success or fill somebody else's versions of, what makes a business owner a successful business owner. And so I just decided to stop doing that, and my life is so different. Like, I just don't feel the pressure anymore because I'm not trying to fit into anybody else's mold. I just do what feels right for me.
There's just so much packed into what you just said today. And I hope that I'm not even going to break it down because I think you very succinctly and beautifully, shared that entire experience, because that is a challenge that a lot of us face. And I think you kind of went into the core of it is the fact that we're always fighting imposter syndrome, but another way to really combat is to not fight it and to become who you're supposed to be, your whole self, and not to compare yourself to somebody else's success or what they deem to be successful, but is to create your own metrics and your version of it. And I think that is hard to do, but when that light bulb comes, it's amazing. And I love StrengthsFinder is amazing. I had Laura Foote on my podcast also some time ago.
Oh, awesome.
So I'll link that episode to the show notes as well. But we did StrengthsFinder with her in a mastermind with Kat, and it was so eye-opening. It was so eye-opening about even on how you're interacting with others on your team or in your relationships in general. And, you know, whether it's a spousal relationship or children and you can really understand and you give space to others to be who they are too. And you allow yourself to be who you are, and then try to figure out a way where that can be collaborated. I think StrengthsFinder is just, it's one of my most favorite things. And I feel like in every episode I talk about it for some reason, because it just kind of pops in, but it truly is so fantastic and a great way to get insight into who you are and where your strengths lie.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how it pops into every episode, because no matter what personality inventory you take, like doing that work of like uncovering your core motivations and, you know, where you thrive and where you struggle. Like it seems, I know a lot of people knock it and a lot of people are like, you guys are so weird. Like, why does it matter? But I have found that personal work has truly like been freeing for me. Mm-hmm. Like now, like, I know I kind of, you know, said, oh, I bought courses and I was trying to apply people's content to my life and I was struggling with that. Now I can invest in education and I can learn from people who are different from me and have different personalities from me. It's not that I shut them out altogether. Mm-hmm. It's that now I understand who I am and what my filter is. And I can now bring in information and determine, okay, this might be something that's really natural to their personality and I might struggle with that. And so I can decide what information I bring in is going to work for me and how could I maybe even tweak it or alter it a little bit to help me. And so again, it creates less of that comparison and less of that imposter feeling and more of a empowering feeling mm-hmm. that I can learn and I can stretch beyond what I'm strong in, right? But I don't have to like beat myself down when I'm not going to ever fully realize those abilities that somebody else may have.
Absolutely. It's just embracing, you're being honest with yourself. Number one, when you take those tests and yourself in general, and just saying, hey, this just doesn't fit or this fits well, whatever. And then embracing it, embracing it, because there's some things that are very inherent to you and who you are. And it's hard to break that because it's just literally your default settings, unless it's something that just you're not happy with and you want to break it, then you have to be intentional about it.
Right.
I just love all of that because it's truly, I think maybe you don't realize it, but I've always felt that you are a very confident person and you walk into a room knowing who you are. And I think obviously you have worked on that very intentionally. You've broken free from things that were causing you to not fully embrace yourself. And so when you walk into a room, people know that, okay, Megan knows who she is. She speaks her mind and she knows who she is. And she's not going to like falter just because everybody else around her is a certain way. And that is one of the most qualities that I like appreciate about you so much. And so it's nice that you were able to share that today also with us.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't feel confident like that all of the time, but
again,
it definitely, I do. I feel it's funny. My husband and I joke, like I'm mid-30s now. And like, you know, when you're growing up, everyone's like, people talk about being in your 30s and that's like when you like let go of a lot. And I really do feel that. I feel like I've let go of a lot of comparison. I've let go of caring about what other people think about me, not in like a reckless, violent way, but you know, just in a way that it's like, I know who I am and I still want to love the world, you know, but I know how to protect myself at this point. And I know what I need. And I know that if I don't allow myself to realize those needs, that I'm not going to be able to show up in my best self in my work or in my life. And so, yeah, it's taken a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. It's taken like a lot of counseling and a lot of like personal study and introspection, but I mean, it totally was worth it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it definitely is because it makes you, whatever hat you're wearing, you're better at it. And your mind, you know what you're doing and you know which direction you want to go in.
Yeah.
So most definitely. Megan, it was so nice having you with us today. But before we end the conversations and, move on, and I wanted to ask you a couple things. Number one, it is when you have challenges in life, what is the one thing that anchors you?
I am a believer. So I would say just my faith in the Lord, and also my husband, Jeremy, and we're a team. And so, yeah, anytime that I just feel struggle or sad or a challenge come up, he is my rock for sure.
That's awesome. And are you reading any books? And if so, what book would you suggest for the listeners out there?
I am. Recently, Jeremy got me AirPods. And so I was I love reading, but I have not read in years because it's so hard for me to just have the time to sit down and just focus on a book, So I got AirPods and I've been listening to audiobooks nonstop. Guilty pleasure, I read the whole Bridgerton series.
Oh, nice. Yes. Have you seen I haven't seen the new season yet. I'm holding it off for something. I don't know what, but
I did. I loved it. I loved it. I love the Bridgerton books. They're really good. So definitely not anything related to helping you in your life, but
I also think we all need some play and guilty pleasures too. I absolutely talk about Real Housewives. There's certain ones that I really love. So
an actual helpful book that might be something worth sharing. I'm reading Predictably Irrational. And I'm a huge psychology nerd. So I really love to understand the why behind why we do things, right? And so this is a book that's talking about how we as humans tend to make really irrational decisions, but we're actually very predictable in our irrational behavior. And so it's really cool. The first chapter talks about sales and how you can read this from a consumer perspective, but also a business perspective, and how you can apply how we function as humans to your business. So if you're a psychology nerd, I would definitely check that out. I'm mid book, so I don't have a definitive review, but the first chapter alone was wow, this is fascinating.
Wow. Okay, awesome. Well, I'll put the links in there. And for those of us that want to reach out and connect with you, I know you also just started something new and you're offering something new out there. So tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. So if you want to learn how to create and sell digital products, the best way to do that is to actually join my course, Revenue Ripple. It's where I walk you through step by step. It's designed in a 30-day challenge almost. To help you create and launch your first digital product. But really the best way to connect with us is on Instagram. While I don't post regularly, we're regularly on stories, and we love DM and chats with our friends and our followers. So that's the best place to get in touch with us. Jeremy and Megan.
Yeah. I obviously I follow you, and I love looking at your stories, and then all of the acrobats and the gymnastics that's happening. It's so fun. And then I'm just wow.
We have a lot of fun. We do
a lot of entertainment. And it's so fun to watch it and vicariously live through you guys while you're doing cartwheels.
It's fun. My girls are learning tumbling right now, and they're just it's so fun to watch.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. You have shared such great advice and really a lot of mind-blowing information. And so thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
Thank you so much for joining Law Chat with Girja. I just love these kind of conversations that are motivating, inspiring, but truthful, raw, and honest about all of the challenges, all of the victories, all of the triumphs, picking ourselves back up again. I just can't think of a better way to get mentorship but Law Chat with Girja. If this was helpful to you or this was inspiring to you, please share the love. You can give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to this channel. You can also share this with your community by taking a screenshot and posting it on your social media and tagging GBP Law. When you do that, a lot more people will be able to see this video that not only benefited you, but also can benefit them as well. So let's share that love and let's share that inspiration. And if you want more information about what I do and other resources, go check out gbplaw.com or yourcontractbuddy.com. And I look forward to seeing you next time.